Today we're going to save around 20 euros by really enjoying the autumn season as we sail solo around Santander Bay. And not just solo on the boat, but genuinely solo, almost completely alone in the whole bay, which is one of autumn's real advantages.
And what do you mean 20 euros? Why 20 euros?
Well, that comes later.
You'll tell that later?
Okay. Hello sailors, and welcome to a new episode of the Low Cost Sailor. Just like I told you, today we're going to save about 20. And why is that exactly? Because that's pretty much the typical average price of the gadgets we usually build on this channel for our boats. Since today, we're not going to install any completely brand new gizmo on our boats. A break for the wallet, basically. Well, that's what I think, because in the end, something I've got lying around always ends up coming up in all these videos. One always learns something new. Well, you could even say we're going to save even more, because the most expensive thing about a boat is having it moored at its harbor. And don't even get me started on marinas like mine. They're kind of losing it and jacking the prices up. Anyway, don't get me started. So today we're going to enjoy a really nice little mini vacation around the Bay of Santander. Honestly, I'm the one who's enjoyed it, and I hope you can share in it just a little bit with this video, which is going to be sort of a mix of a tour and a triathlon.
Tour triathlon?
That's it. A mix between a tour and a triathlon. But of course, a triathlon my way. Not the kind where you get really worn out and totally exhausted. I have to say that early fall is an absolutely fabulous, really fantastic time to go sailing. There's wind, the weather is still nice, and above all, there are already starting to be fewer people and boats out on the sea. Anchorages that are normally impractical in summer turn into a paradise of peace and tranquility. And honestly, that's pretty much exactly what I needed this week. A calm, truly restful vacation, without having to go anywhere at all, especially since my wife wasn't really up for it either. And I'll admit I'm fortunate there, not just because of my wife, though that too, but because the classic vacation of staying home for a week without doing anything, when you live 10 minutes from your boat and from one of the most beautiful bays in the world, well, can definitely be considered good fortune, without a doubt. And if the weather cooperates like it does in this episode, then all the better. And also I needed a bit of rest, because like I already told you in the last episode, Lara has been acting a little strange. Lately she's been turning her nose up at everything, and yet she keeps gaining weight, and she's very tired, lying on the couch all day. Well, she's even had to take medical leave. Anyway, who knows? What's clear is that she's acting very strange, and taking advantage of this week of vacation, I needed to unplug and rest a bit. And it seems like the stars aligned, and the perfect day arrived. It's clear there are things I'm good at and things I'm not, and resting is one of my worst. Because on the day they give me free rein to do whatever I want, I still start by getting up really early. Stealthy like a ninja, I usually slip out of bed so I don't wake Lara, because when it comes to getting up early, we're basically like day and night. And after checking the weather forecast and what freedoms we'll have for the day, I pack a few supplies, hop on my bike, and ride to the boat. Vacation Monday, and I'm up early. I love thinking I'm getting up early, but for something truly worthwhile. Not going to work, just enjoying myself and the best thing that can happen to you. From my house to the boat, it's about a 45-minute bike ride, but I did it so many times during the lockdown when they only let us go out to exercise that it's a piece of cake. Well, and my bike is electric, which gives you an additional advantage. But anyway, we'll dedicate an episode to all bikes, probably very soon. The 45 minutes even feel short to me when I think about the day ahead of me, and arriving at the harbor at this hour is always like a postcard-worthy scene. Now at the harbor, I fold up the bike and get ready to set sail. Up to here, the first leg of my own particular triathlon, the cycling segment. This week of nice weather brings a few days that are almost identical, with sunny mornings, a bit of dew, and a complete absence of wind. It's clear these aren't the ideal conditions for sailing, but they're ideal for a nice soup ride along El Puntal. Sailing will come later.
With the SUP?
With the SUP, with the stand-up paddle. I don't know if that has a name in Spanish too. The paddleboard.
The paddleboard.
The stand-up paddleboard. Let's go. My home port is 3.3 nautical miles from my destination at El Puntal at low tide and 2.7 miles at high tide. Curious facts about Santander: this is due to the multiple obstacles that come up along the way in the particular geography of the Bay of Santander. It all starts with the Francis Sand Flat, a shallow water area right at the entrance to the harbor, and even though it may look like it's covered with water, at low tide it's nothing but sand. And unless the tide is very high, it's a trap for all kinds of sailboats that try to cut the corner by skipping one of the channel buoys.
From there, my father, with a Trastolio, has gotten quite a few out.
And I still see boats getting stuck there every single summer, and some of them don't even look French at all, I'm telling you. Like, they look really local. The channel is a safer route that allows large ships, which can travel through Santander Bay, to have a secure way to reach their destination. And for us little ones, it lets us not worry about checking the tide table. And with that lack of worry, I was already heading out through the harbor, immediately starting to get my toys ready. My inflatable SUP board, back then I really spared no expense and bought one of the best. But obviously there are super cheap ones that are good quality too, like the ones from Decathlon for example. And above all, Decathlon has an awesome invention, which is the electric pump, because otherwise you've got two sports in one, inflating it and then getting on with paddling. While the pump is doing its job, we head toward the second major obstacle in Santander Bay, the Calatrava Pier, officially known as the Dinasol Pier. A structure used for loading and unloading various petroleum products at a relatively small refinery. You will most often see gas carriers moored at its terminal, and for sailboats of almost any size, it still remains an insurmountable barrier at virtually any time of day. Even so, Carlos, with his motorboat, the Trastolilo, cheerfully skips right over it.
Come on, the engine beats the sail.
A small motorboat beats a sailboat. And once this big obstacle is behind us, and thanks to the fact that today the tide happened to be high for me at this time, well, now you can head straight toward the point. Leaving the channel feels scary, even at high tide. Suddenly dropping from 15 meters of depth to 3.5 meters can give you a real fright. Those of you from the Mediterranean will think it's not really that big a deal. After all, it's 3.5 meters of water, come on, under the boat. But here, that's really not much at all, because the tidal range in Santander can reach up to 4.5 meters. And that means the waters I'm happily cutting across right now could, just 6 hours later, be a huge stretch of sandy beach right in the middle of the bay.
What people around here call the meadow or the big beach.
So one piece of advice, if you come by here, check the tide, and if you're not sure, follow all the channel buoys and don't skip any of them.
One thing, why are the tides so strong here but not in the Mediterranean?
What do you want? The scientific answer.
Well, because it's a question that came to mind for me just now.
Because the Mediterranean is a fairly enclosed sea. And we're on the Cantabrian Sea, which actually is part of the Atlantic Ocean. And so the movement of water masses, due to the influence of the sun and the moon, shows up much more in open seas and much less in more enclosed seas. If you go to the Ebro Reservoir, there are really only tides when they open and close the dam, because it's a pretty small, fairly enclosed body of water, I think. Puntal Beach is a very large sandbar located just under 500 meters away from the city of Santander, on the opposite side of the bay. The sandbar itself is roughly a mile long, but the beach that extends out on both sides of it, together with its continuation through the towns of Somo and Loredo, creates a beach that's almost 5 miles long, much of it on the northern side facing the open sea, and a real paradise for surfers, kite surfers, and other aquatic specimens, among whom I definitely count myself. And inside it, however, a calm pool of crystal clear waters that creates the feeling of being in a true paradise, despite being right next to the city, and that's where I anchored that morning, and of course, and thanks to autumn, completely alone. Well, anchoring might not be the right word, because another advantage of fall is that the buoys, which in summer are occupied by their owners or renters, naturally, in fall are there waiting for us so we can moor safely. Like that, on the sly. And this one in particular I already have down. Well positioned, well protected. It hosts an enormous yacht in the summer, much larger than my little sailboat, so safety is guaranteed. And even solo, tying up to it is a fairly simple operation with a bit of practice. It didn't take me long to change and take advantage of the tide, which was still high, because if I've already told you there's a 4-meter difference in tide, imagine the current there can be when the bay empties or fills. The ideal time to row is either at high tide or at low tide, and of course when there isn't even a breath of wind. I always tell Carlos that, and I say to him, "Shall we get up early in the morning to row?" And Carlos says, "At 11 o'clock then?"
11 o'clock works?
At 11 is about when the wind starts to come up. The ideal time to paddle is at high tide or at low tide, and of course when there isn't any wind at all. The good thing is that if you paddle against the current on the way out, you know the way back is going to be a lot more pleasant. You really need to check the wind forecast and the tide chart carefully, and then you can save yourself a lot of effort. The inside of the breakwater was a truly deserted paradise, with completely flat water that day. Nothing quite compares to those peak hour moments in summer, when boats crowd in here from every direction, out on the water and even up on the sand, whether on purpose or by accident. And the steady, constant traffic of boats and jet skis makes it feel as if we were truly out at sea, anchored right in the middle of the Atlantic. But today, the only boats that pass by are the Pedreñeras, which connect the towns of Somu and Pedreña with Santander, towns that are themselves connected by a long bridge spanning the Cubas estuary. And then there are the two beach bars, which in summer are packed with people, with music, even parties going on until the early hours of the morning. Well, there are actually even a few videos online that show the civil guard landing at one of the beach bars to make everyone leave. And today, luckily, they are truly a haven of peace. When you're here, you can easily forget you're just a stone's throw from the city and right next to a major port, except for those moments when you spot the silhouette of the large ships passing behind the dune. If you're full of energy and you've got the strength for it, you can also paddle around the other side of the sandbar and head toward Los Peligros or La Magdalena beaches, explore the little islets in that area, and so on. After the second event of our own little triathlon comes the refreshment break. It's usually made up of all kinds of pre-cooked foods that let you easily and quickly throw together days like these, especially when you're coming straight home from work. But today, just as a precaution, it was made up of my mom's Russian salad. The very best, both the salad and my mom, along with one or two other little extras. So today's meal could be described as those classic appetizers that were so popular in restaurants throughout the 80s and 90s, and that have now, quite unjustifiably, vanished from practically every menu.
Why is that?
All the nautical YouTubers are going to scold you. The ones who say you absolutely have to cook on the boat, that you always cook on the boat, no pre-made meals, no simple sandwiches, that you really have to cook. You'll see, you're going to get in trouble.
Who told me the other day? Roberto was saying, but everyone brings a sandwich and all that. No, nobody cooks on the boat, so this depends on opinions. Someday maybe we'll cook on the boat or we'll invite someone to cook for us. That works better too. Well, at lunchtime, it's also the classic time to send a few sweet little messages along to my wife.
Punching in is called...
Yes, but it looks bad in a video that he might see. And of course they get replied to with a bunch of incongruent things, like photos of her belly. I'm not really sure what obsession she's had lately with her belly. I'm not going to be sending her photos of mine, along with some incongruous gifts they've given her, and I don't really understand what for. Some matching the low-cost sailor t-shirts, but they're super small. Those won't work for me, and I don't think for her either, especially with her current belly. I think she's trying to tell me something, but I don't totally understand what. She even tells me to give her two boys' names, to think about it. What does she think I am, Alexa, to ask those kinds of questions? Well, after all these reflections, and seeing that it's not going to give me much free rein today either, it's time to tidy things up, wash the dishes, and taking advantage of the northeast wind picking up right on time, move on to the third sport of our triathlon, sailing, heading back by boat. The northeasterly wind in Santander Bay is a fairly regular visitor on sunny days during summer, spring and fall. If the day is clear, around midday or somewhere thereabouts, it pretty much always makes an appearance, right about then. Sometimes it's strong enough to really get the adrenaline flowing and even let you do a bit of kite surfing, for example, but on other days like this, it's a truly ideal breeze for sailing on your own. Since I've still got a little time left, I decided to go all the way to the edge of the bay so I could show it to you a bit, you know, and finish the video. Sailing upwind, the wind was ideal and you could make good speed. As soon as you round the Puntal, you already have a full view of the city of Santander, facing south toward its own little inland sea, and bounded by the bay, except for buoy 2, yes, number 2, which is the one farthest out. Anyone would probably think it should be number 1, but no, it's actually number 2. And it's also bounded by the Magdalena Peninsula. Although a typical sail usually takes me to get close to Muro Island, a lighthouse that is more than significant for the city of Santander, and nowadays a natural reserve for diving. With its especially privileged views when you disembark there in the summer, because in the winter, since it's already outside the bay, the waves are able to wash over the island, including the lighthouse. I mean, you honestly can't even begin to imagine it. The Magdalena Peninsula, with the palace of the same name, is today a cultural and recreational space for the people of Santander. A visual estate with its own beach, dock, and a palace that nowadays serves as the venue for the summer courses of Menendez Pelayo University. Well, and from many weddings too.
Like mine.
Yes, I think you repeated it 200,000 times every time we walked by in front of the Trastolilo. And your wife would always tell you, and mine too. Come on. A setting truly worthy of a king. And of course it really was. It was King Alfonso XIII's summer residence for quite a number of years, in fact, and a gift from the city of Santander to him. Well, until he gave it back to us, or kind of gave it back to us, with some conditions of course, and all those things kings tend to impose. But anyway, now it's ours. And on the way back, Horadada Island, which after a storm a few years ago, lost the hole that originally gave it its name, and which according to legend was created by a stone boat in which the heads of Santander's patron saints, Saint Emeterius and Saint Celedonius, arrived. They got here from La Rioja in a stone boat and crashed into an island, and we're worried our boat is going to sink and these guys crash into an island and make a hole in it.
They must have been in a good boat.
Clearly the stone boat wasn't a Tupperware. Next to it is Tower Island, mistakenly known by some as Mouse Island, home to the Municipal Sailing School, and a building that's rather underused, especially considering the views and possibilities it offers. Where, in addition, you can quite easily disembark, and you can even reach it on foot during some very low tides in the fall. And as we head back into the city, you've got all the luxury of Santander's very trendiest areas, with the Hotel Real, the Botín family's many different houses, and similar places like that. How many subscribers would this channel need to have to be able to buy one of those houses? One of these days we'll set up a mansion like Ibais for YouTubers, but in one of those houses, right? What is that over there?
The mansion of nautical YouTubers.
All the nautical YouTubers get together. We'll hold our next council meeting once we've all finally reached 10 million followers. It'll be held inside our very own nautical YouTubers mansion. Well, but knowing us, we'll probably end up having to do it at that small little blue house that looks like it's getting hemmed in by its bigger siblings, who are kind of bullying it there just a bit. The rest of the city, the part that's visible from the water on our way back, is made up of the cream of the crop of Santander's cultural offerings. The Cantabrian Maritime Museum as well. The Palacio de Festivales, which some people call the dead dog, because besides being ugly, it gives the impression of being a dog lying on its back with its legs up. So this really is a building that, even with all the time it has been there, you never quite get used to how ugly it is. Across from the Palacio de Festivales, one of my favorite spots in Santander, the Sierra Steps, which they built during the 2016 Sailing World Championships maybe. Carlos clearly doesn't really know. And they've fixed up that whole area that used to basically be a shipyard for scrapping old boats. They've turned it into a truly wonderful place where you can go for a walk, read. You sit there in winter on the stands with all the views of the bay and you can see tons of people there just enjoying the scenery. And once you've gone past Puerto Chico and the Yacht Club, where you really get to see the more refined and more polished side of the city's boating scene, definitely not us. We're now at Paseo Pereda and the Centro Botín, which, for all the controversy surrounding its appearance and its construction, has truly been a major driving force for that whole area, which before, you really couldn't honestly say, was a place where you could take a walk at night with complete peace of mind at ease. That's it? Well, I have to leave you because I'm running late and I still have to head back to port. I'm going to take advantage of at least this last stretch to read a bit peacefully, since Lara lent me a book about radioactive boogers, something like that, which I'm guessing is some kind of sci-fi in the style of Alien or something like that, which I like. And like always, afterward I'll have to rush off at full speed because time has just flown by and I'm late to pick her up. Well, more like for her to pick me up, because I'm on a bike and in the end the bike is going to end up in her car and it'll go back home inside her car. Well, I definitely do consider myself quite lucky. Living in a city like Santander just 10 minutes away from the boat, that's really something to feel truly happy about. And on top of that, in the Bay of Santander, you can really sail all year round. There may be a big swell outside or even a storm, but in here you'll be well protected. And except for days with a very strong southerly wind, because it truly picks up here, you can sail without any problem on practically any day of the year. But I'm not the only one who's lucky, because in general, living in Spain, if you live close to the coast, in any city in Spain, and you have your own boat there, you can feel very lucky as well. What I encourage you to do is not to put the boats away in winter. Keep on sailing. There are truly wonderful days for sailing in winter, and for those of you who have the opportunity because you can live close to the boats, that's really great. And for those who don't, well, you'll always have the low-cost sailor channel, so you don't lose that connection with the sea. So, well, like I'm telling you, Spain is an ideal country to have a boat. If the authorities helped us just a little bit more, especially with the whole matter of ports, fees and that kind of thing, then we would surely be a real powerhouse. But hey, what can you actually do? In any case, thank you very much for your attention, sailors. I truly hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If so, please go ahead and give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and you've also got the little bell over there. See you in a couple of weeks in a new episode of The Low Cost Sailor.
Alright then, that's it. All wrapped up. Time to pack up and all that.
Alright?
One thing, so that book you mentioned at the end, the Snot one, have you read it already, or have you started it yet?
Well, not yet. I already started reading a bit.
Or what did you say it was called?
It's right here, The Radioactive Snot, or something very similar.
Have you had a chance to read the complete title of the book?
The whole title? Yes. The Radioactive Snot and Other Worries of First-Time Parents. And my wife's belly. And 2 shirts. And I was wondering about names. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness.